Thanks, Chrissy. Recharge Metals, we entered into the uranium exploration space back in March this year with the acquisition of our Athabasca Basin project, Newnham Lake. Following this, with the key drivers of uranium, we really wanted to acquire an advanced uranium asset and enter the acquisition of our Carter project in the US. We announced this acquisition approximately 3 weeks ago, and the deal will be closing in approximately 2 weeks following our shareholder approval and capital raise. So the Recharge team. So as Chrissy mentioned, I'm a geologist by profession, and my uranium experience dates back to the early 2000 uranium exploration cycle. I was actually on the ground for the inaugural drilling program at Bannerman's Etango with Bannerman speaking later today. Joining me on the board is Simon Andrews. Simon's our non-exec chair, and Simon has over 20 years of experience in the financial markets, both in Asia and in Australia. And our recent appointment is Ben Vallerine. Ben joined us along with our acquisition of the Carter project. Ben is a fellow geologist, and he has a wealth of exploration in the uranium sector, and in particular in the US. Ben resided in the US for about 6 years with exploring for Black Range Minerals, and it was through his time there that they built a portfolio of over £90 million. So Ben is a fabulous asset to the company, and we're really looking to working with him on the board. You'll be able to hear Ben chat later this afternoon, as he's also Managing Director of Cobra Resources, and he'll be discussing their exploration in South Australia. So what is Carter Uranium Project, and why did we acquire it? We've acquired 100% of it, and as mentioned, it's an advanced exploration asset. We're only 60 kilometres away from Peninsula Energy's Lance ISR operation, with Wayne up a couple after me. And the reason why it really jumped out at us is the fact that it has pounds in the ground. There's significant historical resources there already at both the Arcadia deposit and also the Mindy deposit. Arcadia has near on 3.7 million pounds of uranium, and Mindy at 1.4 million pounds. We think we can really build on these foundations. And just quickly, the cautionary note down the bottom, note that these resources are historic resources. They're not reported in accordance with the JORC 2012, given the fact that these resources date back to the 1980s. So as mentioned, we entered into the uranium space back in March. We really feel like the tailwinds have really strong fundamentals for uranium, hence the desire to acquire the advanced asset. The appointment of Ben further strengthens our board. Our major shareholder, DG Resource Management, hold approximately 16% of our company, and they have a consulting arm based in Canada and also in Denver in Colorado, and they are really supportive of the project and enable us with some fantastic on-ground support. We're in the Powder River Basin, so a proven and active area for uranium production, with some of the largest uranium deposits in the US located there. And following our capital raise, we'll be fully funded to complete our exploration going forward. This is our indicative capital structure post-acquisition. So currently we have near on 140 million shares on issue. Post the acquisition, we'll have 256, and we'll be funded with 2.9 million in the bank going forward to commence all that early exploration. So why the US? George Ross earlier touched on the US. It is the largest commercial nuclear generator in the world, but it's also the largest buyer of uranium. The US currently isn't producing sufficient uranium, and this is a situation that the US would really like to change. You can see on that map there, the amount of operating commercial nuclear reactors that the US has and needs to fuel. And just in one point of note is the fact that year to date, the US uranium production has already tripled the amount that it produced last year, and this is predominantly from the Powder River Basin. think we've seen enough of these slides, and we'll probably see enough of them later on. But essentially, there's a real strong commitment to the US nuclear sector, and there's been the entrance of a large number of technology firms into the nuclear market. So where are we? The Powder River Basin, for those of you who don't realise, is predominantly in Wyoming, also over into Montana and South Dakota. We're right on the verge of those 3 states there. The area is host to at least 6 permitted ISR uranium production facilities, and these are within 300 kilometres of our Carter Uranium Project. You can see the highway running right along the top of Carter Uranium Project. That's Highway 212, which gives us easy access down into that central processing plant area. Uranium has been successfully produced in this area since 1974. So jumping into the project itself, we've acquired approximately 27 square kilometres of tenure in the area. Shown on this map is about half of that. This is mainly focusing on our advanced areas with the deposits. We're only 75 kilometres from a regional town, and this area has experienced an extensive amount of exploration in the 1970s and early 1980s. The exploration was predominantly by uranium heavyweight Kerr-McGee, partially in conjunction with its joint venture with Chevron. There's been over 3,500 drill holes completed in this area, and there's near on 360 kilometres of oxidation roll front structures in the general area. We've been able to inherit a significant amount of historical work data, and from this we can see that these roll fronts demonstrate similar geological, hydrological and metallurgical characteristics that are ISR amenable and are very similar to those other deposits down in the Powder River Basin. We've got multiple target areas defined, and I'm going to touch on the resources now, but before I do, whilst I'm on this slide, you can see the Arcadia project in the top there, and you can see that northern limb. There's been mapped roll fronts through that area as well, which we'll be really looking at exploring further down the track. So jumping into Arcadia. So Arcadia has 3.7 million pounds of uranium. We have managed to secure thus far an estimated 87% of the surface expression, and it's super high grade, being 1,250 ppm uranium oxide. At least 254 drill holes have been drilled over this area with a close spacing of 30 metres. This roll front that covers this deposit is traceable for 4 k's, but this resource itself only covers 1.5 k's. So straight up, we've got another 2.5 k's of this roll front area that we can explore, and we're really confident that we'll be able to increase our resource base in this area. Down to the south, the Mindy property. This is located only 7 kilometres away, and there's 1.4 million pounds of uranium at 1,560. So again, really high-grade uranium. At least 226 drill holes have been completed here over a strike length of 7 kilometres. The roll front extends and is traceable from other historical drilling, which we'll be chasing up going in the future. So in situ recovery mining, I think, we've discussed this earlier, but essentially it basically reverses the process for how the uranium is formed in the first place. ISR has been being in production in Wyoming since 1974, and importantly so, ISR mining is either undertaken or permitted in 4 US states, 2 of them being our neighbours in Wyoming and South Dakota. So the benefits of ISR mining, which George Ross chatted about earlier, it's economically competitive, low capex, low opex, environmentally superior. There's the hub and spoke potential, which is really keen for recharge, given the fact that we're in an area with 6 other central processing plants within 300 kilometres, and low impact, as you can see from this slide, which was taken on a recent visit over there and a cheeky trip down to Peninsula's Lance operation. So what's our plan going forward? At the moment, we're just in the process of obviously digesting the acquisition. So we're going through all the data compilation of all of the historic wealth of drill holes and the data that we have from this. We're completing a complete data review over this and targeting, working out what the plan is going forward with our drilling. We've already started our permitting process and have been in touch with the various US agencies responsible for this. And we're looking forward to drilling in the US summer next year. Drilling will initially focus on bringing up that resource confidence within the area of those defined deposits, and we'll be also looking at extending those, bearing in mind the point that we have another 2.5 kilometres of roll front which has been drilled and stepped out along that Arcadia area. We also have approximately another half amount of this secure tenure going forward, and we'll be looking at following up other encouraging drill results that haven't been previously followed up. This is really the value of getting into a project that has been explored before. There's a wealth of data, a wealth of money that has gone into this project, and we can essentially just mine the database. So key terms on the acquisition terms, it was 250 cash as a reimbursement, 16 million shares in Recharge, and there's also 50 million performance rights which vest on various milestones based on mineral resource amounts and time tenure. So just to summarise, we really believe that the Carter Uranium project has really traversed projected Recharge from an exploration company into an advanced exploration company. We're really excited to get on the ground at Carter with pounds in the ground, 3.7 at Arcadia and 1.4 at Mindy, and we really believe that we can work on these areas and really build the resource potential in the area. Thank you.